have for you is a word.
Mind-blowing. Hey guys, it's Sean O'Connell, the managing director here at CinemaBlend, with a review of Christopher Nolan's new film, Tenet. I know that you want to go into this knowing as little about Tenet as possible, so I'm going to dance around it, and I'll let you know how I feel about the movie without giving too much of it away.
Well, I've seen too much. Well, we'll try and keep up.
Okay, I gotta let you know right off the bat that even by Christopher Nolan's standards, Tenet is wildly original. You have never, ever seen anything like this on screen before.
Whoa.
It kind of falls into the subgenre category of Nolan's time-twisting movies. It follows a pattern of movies like Interstellar, Inception, The Prestige to a smaller extent, but especially Memento, going all the way back to the earliest days of Nolan. Every once in a while he tells straightforward narratives, whether it's the Batman franchise, something like Insomnia, and Dunkirk to a certain extent, although in Dunkirk he did play around with time to have it in 3 stages. Tenet dives full throttle into the Nolan who is just thinking so differently than every other type of storyteller, and manipulates time and our understanding of it to basically fit into what is, other than that, a pretty straightforward spy thriller. The main character, John David Washington, is literally just called the protagonist. He's a CIA operative who, in a nutshell, is assigned to investigate an arms dealer played by Kenneth Branagh. I can tell you that he's paired with Robert Pattinson, and that they are going to use Elizabeth Debicki's character to get closer to Branagh, because she's romantically involved with Branagh's character, but is on the outs with him and might be there to figure out what he's doing. Here's what I can tell you about how Tenet gets different. It introduces the concept of time inversion. Every single time that Nolan goes out into one of these movies, whether it be Inception and the idea of implanting an idea into someone's dreams, Nolan takes that idea and sort of rides it for as long as he can. And the idea of inversion, which they need you to accept, and as long as you accept it, the movie flows pretty well, is that in the future, technology has been invented that allows people to change the way that time flows. Instead of from present day moving forward, it moves from wherever it is backwards.
What happened here?
Hasn't happened yet.
It's a pretty simple concept, and they use a lot of really cool visuals to identify this. You'll see people lifting a bullet off of the table and into their hands. Or instead of John David Washington firing a bullet into a wall, the bullet comes from the wall and into his gun. It's essentially moving backwards. We have a future society that has figured out how to really master the art of inversion. So they are able to go into sequences that have already happened and move through the action backwards. But everything that happens in the inversion happens completely in reverse. So you wear a mask to help you breathe because in the inversion, air is going into your lungs instead of leaving it, essentially. Or if you're trapped in a fire in the inversion, it actually turns to ice. It's pretty wild. And Nolan has a really fun time exploring that.
You want to crash a plane?
But not from the air. No, it's so dramatic.
Well, how big a plane?
That part is a little dramatic.
No one else is really thinking the way that Christopher Nolan thinks. And I think that cinema, as a result, is all the better for it. He just has these massive, intelligent set pieces that as long as you buy into the rules of the universe that he's laying out for you, you almost can't believe that they're happening even as you're watching them sort of play out. There's this incredible set piece in the middle of Tenet, which involves them having, it's a simple heist. It's a heist. Like, Nolan loves heist movies. And in this one, the characters have to get into an airport for reasons I won't give you. And the distraction that they come up with is to drive an actual plane into this building to trigger a bunch of alarms and to get people distracted. And Nolan does it like a real full-blown plane because he doesn't want to use green screen. Like, he only knows practical effects and he only does stuff that's captured in camera. And very few people think like that. And very few people get the blank check handed to them to pull this stuff off. So when you watch Nolan do it, it's literally jaw-dropping. It's mind-blowing to see such spectacle applied to an intelligent script that challenges you to think and to stay on your toes and to keep up with it as you're going. And every single time that Nolan does it, when he sticks the landing, I'm blown away by it because that stuff normally doesn't work. Usually you get eye-popping spectacle and you get these expensive set pieces at the sacrifice of an intelligent, challenging script. When Nolan is operating on all cylinders and he's applying the way that he thinks to the way that his visual eye works, there's nobody who can do it better than him operating right now. That all being said, there is still one element of Tenet and kind of Nolan's movies in general that I can't overlook, and it's his audio mix. This has been happening to him since Inception, and it really messed up my viewing of Interstellar. My first theatrical experience with Interstellar was a disaster because the way that the audio is mixed, part of it is Hans Zimmer's score, but it's overwhelming the dialogue. And some of it is just because Nolan has admitted he likes to just capture what dialogue he gets in camera on the day of the set. But too many times over the course of Nolan's films, when you're seeing him in a theater, you don't hear what people are saying. And this happens to Tenet also. My theater going experience, I saw it in a Regal RPX, and so the sound was top notch. I'm going to estimate that I heard 85% of the dialogue. But I've talked to other colleagues who have told me that they probably only picked up 50% of the dialogue, and I'm hearing from people on social media who've been able to see the movie overseas who tell me that they've had a really, really difficult time hearing the dialogue.
Well, I'm going, so any tips will be welcome.
This is why this is frustrating, is because I actually think Nolan has a brilliant script here. And there's really important bits of information that get distributed in the middle of bombastic, integral scenes, but you need to hear what's going on. And by sort of overshadowing his own dialogue, Nolan kind of hurts himself a little bit. He has said in interviews that he doesn't like to do ADR, which means he doesn't want actors to come back into a sound booth after the fact and re-record dialogue that kind of got lost on the day. He wants to just really capture everything as it's happening in the moment. But to do that, he sort of sacrifices the conveyance of, I think, really important ideas. And that does hurt Tenet to a certain extent. You can sort of get through the logic of it all, and I was able to really follow it. Believe it or not, and I've said this, and I've had colleagues totally disagree with me, I've found this to be Nolan's most accessible of his time-twisty films. I get lost in both Inception and Interstellar, but I was able to follow Tenet all the way through. Minus a couple of hiccups that I definitely want to go back through and see it on a second and third pass, because I know it's going to be more rewarding. But there's certain elements, too, that like I just want to either see subtitles or actually hear what the people are saying, because I know that key pieces of dialogue are moving the story forward, and Nolan just, for whatever reason, wants to drown it out in his audio mix. Okay, but that nitpick aside, like there's no way that I could let 2% of the overall experience affect the 98% that was truly eye-popping, jaw-dropping, overwhelmingly brilliant. And so Tenet's going to get 5 stars out of 5 for me. I cannot imagine movies being more entertaining and intelligent and rewarding, filled with tension, suspense, espionage, romance, some dry wit. It had a little bit of everything. John David Washington is a flat-out superstar. Robert Pattinson's fantastic in support, and it's just Nolan firing on all cylinders. It's Nolan doing everything you want Nolan to do in a complete Nolan package, and I was overwhelmed by how amazing it turned out. Listen, this is a difficult film at this stage because Nolan wants everybody to go to theaters to see it. And I know not everybody's comfortable going to theaters. And I totally understand that and have to respect that. I respect everyone's decision whether they're ready to go back to theaters or not. And all I can do is speak to my experience of going to go see this. I spent an entire day in a multiplex and saw 2 other movies before I saw Tenet. The theaters were clean. Every employee wore a mask. I wore a mask. Everybody sat apart from each other. It's your decision. I totally understand that. But I think that if Tenet is something that interests you and you feel comfortable going back to theaters, this is the movie that's supposed to be bringing you back. It's the type of spectacle that we haven't seen on the big screen in 6 months, and I'm thrilled that Nolan's getting an opportunity to show it in theaters, so I hope that you're comfortable enough to give it a shot and to go see what he's come up with, because it's truly, truly a masterpiece. If you do make it to theaters to go see Tenet, come on back here and tell me your review of the film. Tell me how you feel about Nolan in general and where you would put Tenet over the course of his filmography. While you are down in the comments, please do me a favor, go over, hit that big subscribe button, gives us a follow. It allows you to know every single time that we're posting a new video here on our YouTube page, so that you guys can come on over and watch the latest things that we have posted.